Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office with another detailed Atlantic hurricane seasonal forecast for 2024. I am very excited to give you all the very latest on what my numbers are, what Penn State is saying about how busy this Atlantic hurricane season is going to be, and that's why I made a new update here for May 1st. So to start off this video, as you can see, sea surface temperatures are definitely warmer than they should be for this time of the year, and we can see that just by analyzing where the 80-degree Fahrenheit isotherm line actually is, or simply to put it in metric terms, 26-degree isotherm, and it is roughly located here right now. Just for reference, the normal should be down here a little further south. So we can definitely get an idea that the Atlantic is running well above average, running ahead of schedule where it should be. The warmest it has ever been in the entire modern era of satellite tracking. Really, really concerning to see water temperatures this warm in the Caribbean and also in the main development region of the Atlantic. Even the Gulf of Mexico is really running warmer than it should be for this time of the year. Another way we could visualize this is looking at the sea surface temperature anomaly map, and clearly it is really warm out there. Look at all the oranges and red colors on your screen, indicating that sea surface temperatures are roughly about a degree to a couple of degrees Celsius above the long-term average. That's roughly 2 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above normal for this time of the year in the Atlantic, which doesn't sound like a lot, but extra heat in the ocean, which means extra latent heat release into the air, means more moisture that the air could hold. Since warmer air holds more moisture, we could see some very intense hurricanes for the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season, especially since we have this warm horseshoe look to the Atlantic with cooler water over here in the central Atlantic, and also across the northeastern or northwestern Atlantic is a telltale sign of what is to come. But again, very warm, record warm in the main development region. Another tool that I always like to use in my videos during the Atlantic hurricane seasonal outlooks and discussions that I do make, including the seasonal forecasts, is how much upper ocean heat content is being stored below the surface of the ocean, right? So in simple ways, the more yellows, the more oranges, and the reds you get, the more deeper down the warmth is being stored for major hurricanes to move over. This does not lead to major hurricanes, folks. I want you all to understand that. But if we were ordered to get a favorable environment into the atmosphere, and we get a tropical wave that moves over these higher values, we could get some very intense hurricanes rapidly to intensify. So here's a look at what it looked like back on April the 30th, 2019. We can see where it all was, right? We're going to compare these images because a lot of you in my comments really liked that. So I'm going to really use it in this video too. So this is April the 30th, 2019. This is April the 30th, 2020. So 4 years ago. And we can see just in those just in that year, let alone from 2019 to 2020 at the same time, we really have increased the heat in the Atlantic even more than ever. I mean, this is crazy. We even got a little bit of oranges over here in the northwestern Atlantic, or in the northwestern Caribbean, I should say, which is fairly high. That will support some big hurricanes if the background state of the atmosphere cooperates. This is 2021. And we will be comparing 2020 to this year because it's very alarming too. So nearly 3 years ago, this is what it looked like. Again, a little less aggressive than what we had in 2020. All right. But what comes next is going to surprise you. This is April the 30th, 2022. Take note, this is a couple of years ago, and there was not as much upper ocean heat content as there was just 2 years prior, back in 2020. So this is 2023. This is last year. And take note, much higher than last year than it was the year prior. Over, again, much of the Caribbean and also for the deep tropics here of the main development region. But let's just say this. How would you like to see 2020 to compare to this year? I think everyone's raising their hand, right? So this is April 30th, 2020. I kind of went back and showed you all that just a bit ago. I'm going to show you this now because we're going to compare this. Okay, so now again, upper ocean heat content is how much heat is being stored into the ocean. And when you compare this, let's take a look. April the 30th, folks, 2020. Here you have it. Look at how much higher that is. Much higher. Nothing compares to 2024 by any means. Here's 2020. Here is 2024. Nearly 4 years later. So if this gave us 30 plus named storms with this configuration with the upper ocean heat content, what could this bring in 2024? See what I mean? This is why I think we're going to have a really concerning season upon us. Lots of heat being stored down here into the Caribbean. Lots of heat down here into the main development region. I just hope, I really, really hope we do not see a historic season, because if we do, the chances are that there will be a lot of landfalls this Atlantic hurricane season. All right, so with that being said, that's the upper ocean heat content of things. Another thing I like to look at is the global aspect to all of this, because global sea surface temperatures do influence one another, and they can change the atmosphere on how it behaves. Okay, isn't that interesting? That's why El Nino versus La Nina, those two impact the atmosphere differently. So in 2005, on April the 30th, that was a very busy season. We were getting ready to see an El Nino develop. It was struggling. Actually, no, wait. It was kind of a La Nina kind of thing, a cold neutral pattern. And that season was very busy because of the Atlantic. Really, really warm. I mean, come on. There's your horseshoe shape with water temperatures that were 2 degrees Celsius above average. Not much of an ENSO signal out here, right? With a really cool Gulf of Mexico and Central Atlantic. So let's go now to April 2020. So as you can see, there is our El Nino-ish fading away in 2005, and here it is in 2020. Really not much of an El Nino or La Nina, more of a neutral pattern with, again, a really warm Atlantic. I've said this already many times. It's been very warm in the Atlantic. Never, ever have we seen all-time records being reached in that basin, let alone. It's very, very concerning, folks. I mean, I don't like this. I really do not like what I'm about to show you, because it really is an alarming bell that is ringing right now. And I don't like to do this to cause hype or fear, but this is real stuff, real science that satellite images are telling us. So this is 4 years ago, and this is now. Take a look. Take a look. Boom. Do you see anything different? We all know the global sea surface temperatures are definitely warmer this year on steroids. I mean, even in the Indian Ocean, really warmer than average. But boy, oh boy, especially in the Atlantic, sea surface temperatures are nearly 2 to almost 3 degrees Celsius above the long-term average for this time of the year. Yeah, this is delayed by a couple of days, but still, it really matters a lot when you put this in all to perspective. Very warm in the Atlantic. Our La Nina is growing in a hurry. We're going to have a moderate to strong La Nina by the fall into the winter months, while the Atlantic basin remains very, very warmer than it should be. And look at what we have over here. Really cold in the central North Atlantic, which is an alarm bell. This really matches with 2005. Look at this. Do you see it? It really matches very quickly. And that is why much of the global climate models are going crazy with this season. So this is from the Northern Multi-Model Ensemble, something like that, right? National Multi-Model Ensemble. I think that's what it means. Either way, it's a climate model that the National Weather Service and the Climate Prediction Center use. And anything in green really illustrates that there is going to be above average rainfall in these 3-month mean averages from August into October. What does that mean? What does that tell us? Well, it tells us a number of things. One, we're going to have a lot more tropical waves coming off of Africa. And the chances of those becoming tropical storms or hurricanes, given the premises of our sea surface temperature configuration, is very high. We could see a lot of tropical storms and hurricanes developing in the main development region, including the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, through August into October, during the peak months of the Atlantic hurricane season. And then secondly, look at what we have, a developing La Nina, which gives us a signal of that the Atlantic is going to really be busy, because when you have a La Nina, you don't get that shear moving over the Caribbean and shearing these tropical cyclones, which I believe is why we had a lot of storms turning out to sea last year. A lot of fish storms, then a lot of the systems that kind of cut across and then kind of turn up, kind of like this throughout the season. This is the season that we're going to see, I believe, this year. A lot of storms coming off of Africa, and they're going to be doing more of this. Because, and we might have a few tracks going out to here, maybe a few fish storms, but the Azores high, the subtropical ridge, likely to be stronger than normal this year, just because of how warm the waters are down here, and that really has a teleconnection field of the warm horseshoe Iberian Peninsula current that develops. Okay, CANCIP's model, also a strong signal for June, July, and August, well above average as far as the anomalous precipitation. So when you get 1 and 2 models matching, that rings an alarm bell, and there's more to this. Once we go into September, October, and November through the end of the hurricane season, look at how far above average the anomalous of rainfall that is going to be. Now, I don't want you all to focus on what goes on over here, okay, off the southeastern U.S. or along the deep south. Because just because you have below average anomalous precipitation does not mean you're not going to get any named storms making landfall. There might be 1 or 2, maybe 3 landfalls, but what really is going to matter on once we get closer, once the peak comes in, and that usually doesn't arrive until August. So we have a few more months for this to recorrect, but the signals are there, folks, coming off of Africa, the Sahel region, the West African monsoon jet is going to be more active this year, I believe. We're going to have a lot of tropical waves that have more potential than usual to get organized with lesser Saharan dust. And a few of you in the comment section were actually explaining that, oh, we're going to have a lot of Saharan dust this year. That's going to just not allow tropical waves to form. We had something similar to that in 2020 as we did now. We had a couple of very intense Saharan outbreaks just recently off of Africa. That does not tell the whole picture of what August, September, and October will bring. Okay, I want to make that clear with you all when watching this video. Just because we have Saharan dust coming off of Africa does not mean we are not going to have a busy season, because this climatology does work in its favor. This is the time of the year from about May until June, even into July perhaps, we have a lot of Saharan dust that comes off of Africa. And any tropical waves that do try to organize are not able to, because that air is dry and stable. Just understand that. It really isn't until late August into September and October we are going to get into the more active part of the season. And besides that, Cape Verde season really doesn't kick up until mid-August anyways, which is out here. More of your named storms early on in the season usually happen over here into the Caribbean and the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Even portions here of the southwestern Atlantic, you can get some named storms. So what does the Euro show us? Well, very similar with its output. Again, this has not updated yet. We should get a new update from the Euro by next week sometime. It takes a few days for these images to be generated. but still looking like a very wet active period. So there are clear signals, folks. Just because the Saharan dust has recently developed does not mean it's not going to be that busy at all. Just follow me on that. Okay, so this is a look at the August, September, October period. Actually, wait, this did update. This did. Okay. I did not realize it. Okay, it did update. Been tired, so that's why. So looking at a really wet one for the Caribbean. Now, the signal not as strong on this does not mean it's tilting that way. I think we're going to still have a busy season nevertheless, and that's why the Euro here does predict as of April the 1st. Okay, this hasn't updated. I did look at this last night, and it still hasn't come out yet. We should get that out by tomorrow, but still predicting right now 21 named storms, and the average is 14.2. And we could have possibly up to 4 to even 5 major hurricanes. That's the concern here. Actually, wait, no. Yeah, something like that. 4 to 5 major hurricanes, it wouldn't matter too much. The MJO is also beginning to waken up a little bit towards the early part of May. That's what we're seeing here. And once the MJO gets into right about in this area, phases 2, perhaps even phase 1, it doesn't happen very often, but even phase 1 all the way into phase 3, at times even 4, we can get a huge increase in tropical activity in the Atlantic. Okay, so the MJO really influences of how active the season will actually be. So here's a look at the number of named storms ensemble forecast, and I have upped my forecast based on the ensemble that I've created here. We are now predicting 25 named storms. That is my prediction right now, and quite a few hurricanes is what I'm thinking. And here's a look at it. This is in April. Now we're going to update you all now with the latest update from Penn State. So here's how it works. Not going to go through all of this. You know the drill, right? Tropical cyclone risk, 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes, 5 major hurricanes. But what really stands out to me is when Penn State, Pennsylvania State University, released their numbers just recently. They are predicting 27. 27 is the minimum, up to 39 named storms. That is very, very concerning. That's a very high number. That is straight high enough to really cause a lot of panic, and some of you might freak out over this. It's just a forecast. 12 to 18 hurricanes, that's very high in itself, and 5 to 10 major hurricanes. Wow. Man, Ethan's probably looking at this, watching the video, and being like, holy cow. Wow. So definitely a very high number. You don't want to see that very often. I'm even lower than Penn State on my forecast. My forecast calls for 18 to 24 named storms, 9 to 14 hurricanes, and 4 to 9 major hurricanes. Okay, so now, what are we looking at as far as ACE points from Colorado State University, which stands for CSU? So they are predicting from Philip Klockspog 210 ACE points for the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season. That is very high. That is nearly all-time record-breaking ACE points for what it's worth. And again, they're predicting 23 named storms, and the average is just 14. Hurricanes 11, the average is 7.2. Major hurricanes of 5, the average is 3.2. So all in all, a very busy, perhaps a hyperactive Atlantic hurricane season is coming. So now I did add a few extra slides to this presentation that I wanted to share with you all today because you guys really liked my last video, which almost has 30,000. So thank you all for sharing that and liking that video very much and subscribing. So what I'm going to be doing during the Atlantic hurricane season routine tropical outlooks is, of course, I will be providing satellite images. So I'll put a check along that. So providing tropical or satellite images of the Atlantic when we do our daily discussions. And if we get anything concerning, well, I'll be providing this in every video, is the 7-day tropical graphical outlook. And if there's a named storm, we will be providing your cone forecast and who and where is going to get hit within that 5-day period. I will provide numerical weather models and forecasts in my videos. Also, if we get a recon mission, a tail Doppler radar from Miss Piggy, or there's another one out there, I forgot the name. There's two of them, two P3 Orion's tail Doppler radar missions that will be assessing these storms. We will be able to get you wind data and precipitation data and shear vector data as well. And then at times in some of my discussions, we will be providing you 850 millibar vorticity, how much spin there is in the atmosphere, shear forecasts as well, or current shear analysis. And then, of course, these are pictures of what the P3 Orion looks like and the WCJ C-130 that will be flying the storm as well. And the Gulfstream, which is a upper-level drop zone mission. You've heard of that name, the G5 aircraft or Gonzo, which flies at 47,000 feet and takes precise measurements of what are they finding out there. So I will be providing this and more, by the way, in my discussions. Now, a couple of things. I'm not going to go through everything of this during my routine outlooks, so pause the video and read this through very carefully. But I will mention a couple of things, a couple of points in this, all right, that are really highlighted. Live streaming will be provided at least 12 hours prior to a tropical storm, hurricane, major hurricane, or super hurricane landfall. Okay, at least in the United States, because that's where we have all the radar, that's where we get all the recon missions in. At times, we will even extend that into the Leeward and Windward Islands in the Caribbean, since we do have a Doppler radar there in Puerto Rico. So we'll be at least able to provide you some live feed on that too. What else here? Live tropical weather discussions on a storm or hurricane will be provided at least 3 days before a landfall occurs or may occur. So like we did with Lee. Lee did not make landfall in the Caribbean at all, but we were able to live stream that and to kind of give you some live feed because that thing rapidly intensified, right? And shorts feed may be provided for rapid fire updates. So if I cannot get 3 videos out or 2 videos out, and we might need a third one, that third one will be a shorts video, less than 60 seconds. Upload times will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time if needed. All right, blah, 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 blah. Pause the video to read more. Okay, terms and conditions. I'm not going to get through all of this. But again, my uploads are for life-saving information only. Do not attempt to copyright these videos anywhere on social media for any reason. All right, because again, at the end of the day, I don't like people just recreating, just kind of distributing my video without my written permission. It's copyright law kind of thing, so please respect that on these videos, and please share this. I encourage everybody to share these tropical weather outlooks and discussions with their family and friends on social media, because when we get into the peak of the hurricane season, it's probably going to be non-stop video uploads, 2 to 3 videos a day perhaps on these systems. All right, and just again, pause the video for to read the entire thing. All right, well, anyways, that concludes the Atlantic Hurricane Seasonal Forecast of 2024. This was updated on May the 1st, 2024. I will be back with another discussion or another Atlantic Hurricane Seasonal Forecast, the final one of the season. I might do something in the middle of the season, we'll see, but that one will be released on May the 21st, okay? Until next time, I'll be back with you more tomorrow. Share, like, and subscribe.